right now. Spread your feet.
Okay. I have an off-duty officer. I have my identification.
Okay. We're just going to check because we're going to call your impersonating police officer.
Oh.
"You're under arrest." The words echo through the parking lot. Sharp. Final. A pair of handcuffs snap shut. But the man they're arresting doesn't panic. He doesn't run. He just looks straight at the officers and says something that stops everything cold. "I'm a U.S. Marshal." Silence. For a split second, nobody moves. And in that moment, everything begins to unravel. Because what these officers don't realize yet is that they've just made the worst mistake of their careers. It started like any normal day. Marcus Reed woke up before sunrise, just like he always did. Routine was everything. Discipline, structure, precision. His job demanded it. To his neighbors, Marcus was quiet, respectful, the kind of guy who nodded in passing but never lingered too long in conversation. They didn't know much about him, and that was by design, because Marcus Reed wasn't just another resident in this quiet suburban neighborhood. He was a federal law enforcement officer, a U.S. Marshal. For years, Marcus had worked high-risk cases, tracking fugitives, coordinating operations, stepping into situations most people would run from. But outside of work, he lived simply. No flashy cars, no attention, just a man trying to live a normal life. That morning, he grabbed his keys, stepped outside, and headed toward his vehicle. He had no idea that within minutes, his entire life would collide with a devastating mistake. Across town, two local patrol officers were already on edge. Officer Daniels and Officer Perez had just come off a tense briefing. Reports of a suspected armed suspect in the area. Description vague, behavior unpredictable. "Stay alert," their supervisor had warned. "Don't take chances." And that's exactly what they planned to do. But sometimes, "don't take chances" turns into something else entirely. It began with a call. A neighbor had reported suspicious activity, a man going in and out of a car, possibly armed. The description? Male, medium build, dark clothing. That was it. Vague, broad, dangerous. But instead of questioning it, they acted on it. Marcus had just opened his car door when the first cruiser rolled in, lights flashing, tires crunching against gravel. He froze. Another cruiser followed, then a third. Doors slammed, hands moved toward holsters. "Sir, step away from the vehicle." The command cut through the air like a blade. Marcus turned slowly, confused. "Officers, what's going on?" "Hands where we can see them." Now louder, more aggressive. Something wasn't right. Marcus raised his hands, calm but alert. "I'm reaching for my ID," he said carefully. "Do not reach for anything." The tension spiked instantly, and just like that, everything started moving too fast. Within seconds, guns were drawn, commands overlapped. "Get on the ground, now." Marcus hesitated, not out of defiance, but out of confusion. "I'm federal law enforcement. I'm a U.S. Marshal." But the words didn't land, not yet. To the officers, it sounded like an excuse, a desperate lie, a tactic. "Yeah, we've heard that before," Officer Daniels snapped. "On the ground, now." And that's when everything fell apart. Marcus lowered himself slowly, face to the pavement, heart pounding. He knew this could escalate. He'd seen situations like this before, from the other side. But never like this. Never as the one on the ground. Cold metal pressed against his wrists.
Handcuffs. Tight. Too tight. "You're making a big mistake," he said. But no one was listening. Neighbors began to gather. Phones came out. Cameras rolling. Whispers spreading. What did he do? Is he dangerous? But then something changed. One of the officers, Perez, noticed something. A badge, partially visible under Marcus's jacket. At first, he ignored it. Could be fake. Wouldn't be the first time. But something about it felt off. Too real. Too precise. "Check his ID," Perez muttered. Daniels hesitated, then reached into Marcus's pocket, pulled out a wallet, flipped it open, and froze. The air shifted instantly. His expression changed. Confusion, then disbelief. "Daniels?" Perez asked. No response. "Daniels, what is it?" A pause. Then, quietly, "I think we messed up." Everything stopped. The energy, the noise, the certainty, gone. In its place, panic. Within minutes, supervisors were called. Radios crackled with urgency. "Confirm identity." Repeat, "confirm identity immediately." Dispatch scrambled, databases checked, calls made. And then, confirmation. Clear, undeniable. Marcus Reed, United States Marshal, active duty. The realization hit like a shockwave. The man they had just thrown to the ground, handcuffed, treated like a criminal, was one of them. Worse, he outranked the situation entirely. The officers stepped back, suddenly unsure of where to stand, what to say. Daniels unlocked the cuffs with shaking hands. I'm sorry," he stammered. Marcus didn't respond right away. He stood slowly, adjusted his jacket, picked up his badge, and looked directly at them. Not angry, not shouting, just steady, controlled. That shouldn't have happened. But the damage was already done. What happened next shocked everyone, because this wasn't just a misunderstanding, it was captured. Every second, body cam footage, multiple angles, civilian recordings, all of it, clear, unfiltered, unavoidable. And when that footage surfaced, everything exploded. The video spread fast, social media lit up, news outlets picked it up within hours. Viewers watched in disbelief as a federal officer was forced to the ground by local police, despite clearly identifying himself.
Questions flooded in. Why didn't they verify first? Why escalate so quickly? Why assume guilt? But then, the deeper issue surfaced. Investigators reviewed the footage frame by frame. They noticed the tone, the aggression, the lack of de-escalation, commands given without clarity, assumptions made without evidence, and most importantly, a failure to follow protocol. Internal Affairs stepped in immediately. Both officers were placed on administrative leave, then suspended, then within days terminated. The department released a statement: failure to adhere to proper identification procedures, use of unnecessary force, conduct unbecoming of law enforcement. But for many, that wasn't enough. Because for Marcus, the impact went far beyond that moment. He had followed every rule, remained calm, identified himself, cooperated, and still ended up face down on the pavement, handcuffed, publicly humiliated, all because of an assumption. A lawsuit followed, swift, direct, not just for the arrest, but for what it represented: a breakdown, a system failure, a moment where authority overrode judgment. And as the case unfolded, more questions emerged. How often does this happen? How many people don't have a badge to prove who they are? How many moments like this go unseen, unrecorded, unchallenged? Because this time, the victim had power, a voice, a position. But what if he didn't? The story faded from headlines after a while, like most do. But the footage remains, a reminder, a warning, a question. One mistake, one assumption, one moment of unchecked authority, and everything changes. The question is, how many more are out there, waiting to be seen?